Rich Eisen from the Rich Eisen Show on Peacock weighed in on the whole Baker Mayfield and the Browns situation. Here's Rich Eisen.
But if you're a Browns fan thinking you got to move on from him right now, I think you're making a mistake. I think there's a fifth-year option that you got to let him play out. And see what Stefanski could do with him. And maybe get him another big game receiver. And commit to the run. Certainly if everything in your passing game is playing off the run, commit to it. And hope for better health up front. But this was a disappointing season for the Browns. There's no other way to put it. The step forward was supposed to be like week one. Going to Kansas City and winning for this team and franchise in a way you couldn't the previous year, and they didn't this year, and then everything began to just unravel.
So Rich Eisen mentions, a wide receiver. Bleacher Report came up with guys that could turn a franchise around, and they have Garrett Wilson of Ohio State wide receiver as a guy that could turn the Browns franchise around in the draft. So this is a draft class guy that could turn it around. Ashley Bastock, what'd you think of Rich Eisen? I agree with him with the wide receiver, and I'm intrigued if Garrett Wilson is sitting there when they pick in the middle of the first round.
Yeah, and I know my colleague Doug Lesmerises has been singing the Garrett Wilson song for about a few weeks now. I'll say probably 5 to 6 weeks. We've been listening to Doug talk about it and write about it. So, I'm totally on board with that and definitely agree that receiver has obviously been an issue this year. And obviously I'm somebody who's covered Donovan Peoples-Jones, for example, pretty extensively over the last few years. And Donovan has, I think, struggled in the back half of the season when they've kind of forced him into that X receiver role. Like that just necessarily isn't the guy he is. And I think he thrives better almost in this offense. And we saw it last year as kind of a number 3 guy. I think in a lot of ways the pressure is off for him and things like that. So I definitely think they need somebody who can be a legitimate deep threat in those situations. And without that, your offense is hamstringed. And then just as Rich Eisen mentioned, obviously the issues at tackle for the Browns this year have really, really compounded. Jed Wills has been playing through that ankle injury and just has not been himself. I'm curious to see what he's going to look like next year. And then obviously they lost Jack Conklin for such a long amount of time. That's an all-pro tackle. That totally changes the makeup of your line. And obviously we saw what the Steelers did in terms of taking advantage of the Browns situation at tackle. And a lot of teams have been doing that. So I definitely think obviously not all of this falls on Baker Mayfield. And there are some other key pieces that I think they need to get back or acquire in the draft in the case of a receiver.